Hello guys, hello everyone. So today I'm going to be making a video about processing your emotions. And I actually saw this one video on YouTube of this one guy making a video where he was just talking about processing your emotions, and it's very interesting. I also made a video once when I said that you don't need to feel it in order to heal it. And at some point I actually thought of deleting that video because, well, at some point I did realize something different about processing your emotions, about feeling your feelings, and I thought of deleting that video, but then I realized soon that actually no, I don't want to delete that video and there's no need to delete that video, because at that point in my life where I was at when I was making that video, it made sense. It made so much sense to me, and so it was the truth that I spoke in that period of my life, in that state of mind that I was in that period of my life. And so that means that there are people also in that state of their lives, in those stages, in that state of mind, and what I spoke there could help them as well. So there's no need to delete the video, because in different stages of our lives, different things resonate with us and different things help us. And so in a particular stage of my life, feel it in order to heal it didn't work, because I tried it and it really didn't work. I remember, just like I talked in that video, what I did is I just tried to feel it, tried to feel my emotions, tried to feel these like negative feelings that I had, and they just overwhelmed me. Like I focused on these feelings and I just was feeling them the whole day, and like nothing came out. Like, how they say, feel it in order to heal it, feel your feelings until they leave you. Nothing leave me. I just stayed in that negative state. I was like focusing on negative state and I stayed in there. So, there was no processing of emotions. I just stayed in the negative state. So, if somebody is, let's say, in that state of being right now, that thing is not going to work that thing is not going to work. Feeling your feelings is not going to work. Feeling your emotions, processing your emotions. And that is because in order to process your emotions, you actually need to be in a particular level of awareness. So in that state, when I was, let's say, making that video, and when the feel it in order to heal it didn't work for me, was when I was unaware of certain things. I was very unaware. And, it felt like certain things were happening to me that I couldn't explain. And, I would, let's say, like, I had a crush on this guy, and, I couldn't explain it. I was unaware. And why that happened is because basically I was unaware because I didn't want to see the truth. I wanted to believe that there's only good in the world, that the world is beautiful, that everybody just has the best intentions for me. Maybe there is bad somewhere out there in the world, but for certain, it's not happening to me. It's not happening in my life. These people, only have best intentions, and that's what I wanted to believe. And so if you are in a state where you just want to be a good person, maybe you are a good person, you're trying to help and you're doing the best, but you are in a state where you just haven't reached a point of realization that people have negative intentions, people have bad intentions for you as well, and that nobody is always just perfect. If you haven't really reached that point, feel it in order to heal it may not work for you, just like it didn't work for me then. Because in order to feel your emotions, in order to process them properly, you have to be aware, and you have to be really aware of everything, so that then you could actually process it out. Because like what are you processing if you're not aware of it? You see, that's the thing. There are stages of grief. There are stages of grief for real, and the first stage of grief is going to be denial, or just like not wanting to admit it, and just like this devastation and just this neediness for this perfect person, let's say. But then you move through a second stage, and the first one is of course the hardest. The second stage is going to be where you start to accept the reality, and when you start to accept the reality, it starts to hit you in a different form, and this is a very painful stage. It's a stage where all these things, if you were manipulated, let's say, if you were played, all these memories come back to you, but now they come back in a form of how they actually were, not what you thought they were. And that's where it becomes really hard, because you're just suddenly hit with these emotions, like these intense emotions, and it's just extremely painful. the emotions is just extremely painful. That's where people start wanting revenge. That's when people start wanting, that's when you are gonna want revenge, you know, because it's just so devastating, you know, to realize that, well, this person after all didn't wish you well. You know, maybe you wish them the best, and you know, all these things that happen, all these little memories, let's say, that you remember, that you thought were a certain way, they now realize that actually they weren't what you thought they were. All these memories, you know, where you thought, let's say, that the person wanted the best, it was a different thing. And it hits you really hard. And so in that state, you know, in that state, I wouldn't even recommend a person to say like, oh, feel it in order to heal it. I wouldn't say that. I mean, that might help. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. Though, because I think you just need to distract yourself, honestly, at this point. And even though, you see, distraction is in our society, and just in general, distraction, word distraction, sounds like something bad, you know, but sometimes it's okay to distract yourself. People run away in different forms, you know. Some people distract themselves by running into other relationships. I personally, what I did is just, I, you know, started working a lot, and that's just my way of dealing. I just realized that, like, I always go to music, I always go to production, to music, to singing, just working. That's just my way of dealing with things. I'm never the type of person to go to other people. Some people go for other people, some people do other things, you know. For me, what makes sense and what made sense in that state of my life is just go for music. Music always made sense to me, you know, and it was always the thing I would go for. And yeah, and so basically, you know, you distract yourself in for as long as you need to. First, you know, after these things hit you, you start distracting yourself. And so after a while, then, you know, you come to accept the reality as it is. You come to accept the reality that this person is not going to be there anymore. That's it. It's over. Like, it's never, that person is never, you're never going to see them again. And so once you accept that, you then can reach a point in your life, like after some time passes, I don't know, it might be different for everyone. There's some time has to pass when you see things for what they are now, you know, and you also understand, you have reached a particular level where you understand that not everybody has the best intentions for you. Like, some people really just are gonna try and break you. Like, they're gonna try and, you know, do something negative to you, do something bad for you, and you just come to accept that, you know, and come to accept that in a way where it's like, that's just the reality, you know. You don't even get super emotional about it. It's just like, you know, it is what it is. And so once you reach that point, so for instance, how it was for me, I just reached a point, and I realized that it is time for me. It's just like one day I just realized it is time now for me to feel those emotions, feel those memories out, to process them. It just came. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I just realized, okay, it is time now. It is time for me to process these emotions. You know, I've already accepted the reality. Now it's time for me to process. And so basically, also what I wanted to say one more time is that, you know, we distract ourselves because if you go for a traumatic event, for breakup or something traumatizing, if it's very traumatizing, in that state, you just can't process it because you're just so, like, lost. And, you know, distracting yourself helps you give yourself time to find maybe solutions, to find tools, or just to time to accept the reality. And even though the emotions may not have been processed, but the general idea you get to accept. And then after that, you know, then you can move forward and go back to those emotions that you left behind when you ran, you know, when you ran away from them. Now those emotions are still there, and so now you can process them. Because you are calmer, you're like, you know, you're more serene, you just accepted things, you have proof that you can survive this, that you can survive without this person, that you don't need, you have proof now because, well, time has passed and you're still here, so that's your proof. And so basically, what happens, like, with processing your emotions, you know, and what happened to me is, like, I just felt this feeling of like a memory starting to come back, you know, because they always start to come back. And I would just try to distract myself. I would try not to like intellectualize somehow, let it go, focus on something else, just so that I wouldn't need to process it. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna feel this, like, and these memories would come that are like so embarrassing, like I would just remember these moments in my life where, let's say, this guy, said something or did something, and I thought that he was like into me and he liked me, and I just really kind of had those moments and these memories, and I thought that it was something. And now, like, sitting, it was, in a different state, and remembering that, it was so like embarrassing to sit there, because it was like, wow, like it was really not the way that I thought, and it was just so much of this embarrassing emotion in me. Like, I just felt so much embarrassment, and that embarrassment is what I tried to run away from, that, because this shame and just embarrassment is just really this kind of emotion that makes us want to run away. But if you just sit in that embarrassment, if you just allow for that embarrassment to be there, what happens is that that memory comes to you. There's a memory, a piece of memory that you need to process, that you need to look at. It's like life is giving you, life is just giving you that memory because you need to process it. There's something in there for you. It's like a gift. It's like a gift, but you don't know what's inside of that gift, or you're just afraid that you don't know what's in there. But once you unwrap it, there's a gift inside. And so when the memory comes to you, how you process it is you're like, okay, and you feel that embarrassment, and you're just allowing for that embarrassment to be there. And your mind may start to like want to intellectualize that situation. So maybe judge what happened, like, let's say, judge either that person or judge either yourself. Try to blame someone, try to see which side was the fault in that situation. Like in my case, I would try to blame that guy. I would try to blame, that he's a narcissist or like whatever. And maybe he was, I don't know. But like, that's not the case. You're not gonna process your emotions. Like, even if, in situations where a person was at fault, let's say you were done wrong. Still, if you want to process that emotion, you gotta be able to reach a point of silence and serenity within yourself, where you are not judging that person, but you're meeting that experience and you're feeling that embarrassment or whichever emotion you have, this intense emotion that you want to run away from. You feel it, and you don't judge neither yourself and neither that person, neither anything. You just feel it. And what happened to me is, I remember this first time I did that. It's like this memory came to me, and I just felt this, like, wow, things are really in their place. And even though it felt negative, it felt embarrassing. It felt like things are in their places. And then I actually physically felt how this emotion, where the solar plexus chakra is, in that area, like here, I felt it here, like here. This is where I feel my intuition. And here, it's like I felt this feeling of emotion when I invited it and I let it be there. I just felt it like leaving like this, like vomiting itself out like this energetically. But it did not feel like, this negative throw up. It felt like this very ecstatic feeling, like it was just leaving me. It was just leaving me. And I just felt physically this like emotion leave me. I felt my emotional body. And I felt like my emotional body was throwing up that emotion. But this throwing up, like in physical body, when you throw up, it's kind of nasty, it's uncomfortable feeling. It felt ecstatic almost. Like this emotion just like the feeling of, and it just leaves me. And I feel it physically. And it's like this vomit. And then another memory comes back in. And I again do the same thing. I just hold myself. It's like the analogy of like holding yourself on fire. It's like you are a soul and you put yourself in fire, inside of the fire. The fire is that memory, that repressed memory. You hold yourself in there. You don't judge anything. You just hold yourself in there. And you face that experience. And when you face it fully, you accept it, and it leaves you. And it leaves you energetically. And so I really like to put a symbolism of, you know, I really like to talk about the symbolism of fire here, because it really does how it felt for me. Like, I put myself inside of the fire, at the core of fire, and that fire burns everything away except for my soul, because, well, our soul cannot be burned. Our souls cannot be touched. Soul cannot be touched. So fire burns away. It strips you of everything. Everything. Everything that you are not. Everything that is of this world. And your soul cannot be touched. And by the way, I wrote a song about this. Basically, and I felt this sensation of just this emotion. And it felt ecstatic. It felt so good. I was like, wow, I felt so full. I was like, oh, I'm here. This is how you do life. This is how you process your emotions. And then there were so many other things that were coming back to me. But it's like I centered myself this way. And that's actually how you center. And that's in general what it means to center yourself. Like, you feel like other people in your life matter so much. Like the ones that hurt you and stuff like that. Simply because you are not holding your center. You know, and you're not holding your center because you're afraid of these emotions. And those emotions are there just simply for you to feel them out. Feel them out. And how you do that is you just face the experience. So feeling your emotions, what it actually is you facing the experience, facing the reality. Because why now once again, why do you need to do that? Why do we need to do that in general? It's because sometimes in our lives we are delusional. How unprocessed emotions even are formed is through betrayal, is through us having a delusion, us thinking that things are a certain way, and then realizing that they're not. And when we realize that they're not, it's just so traumatizing that we're like, no, this cannot be real. And we push that away, and when we push that away, we push our center away. Because what we do with that is we're saying, no, my life is not supposed to be this way. No, this is not my life. No, 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 no. But if you just accept it, if that's when you center it, that's when you center, that's when you come back to your center, that's when you center yourself back. And then you just realize that, okay, this is just my life experience, and I'm actually glad, and I'm actually happy, and I'm actually so interested, and I'm so intrigued in my life and what else life has to offer, because it's just part of my experience. So there's no need to suppress none of those things. I just gotta face it, accept that this is the reality, you know. And nobody is protected from pain, and nobody's protected from these experiences. You know, we can think that we are all this and that and third, and then somehow life will humble us. I know that I was the person, like, in general, I definitely got into my ego when I liked this guy. You know, I really did think I was special. I did think that, you know, this person likes me the most. Like, that's how we in general we form crushes, you know. It's because we just want to feel special. At the end of the day, I did realize that it's just ego wanting to feel special. You know, if you want to feel special, soon you'll meet a person who will really make you feel special, and then you will realize that you were not that special after all. And it's just a humbling experience. It's just an experience of, well, maybe not just, but it's an experience of humbling yourself. You know, it's an experience of kind of clearing yourself off of your ego, and it's a growth experience, it's a growth opportunity, and we really do grow through those experiences. But we have to face them. You know, in order for that to happen, we have to process them and accept that these things happened. Like, it was hard for me to accept that this thing happened to me, because, well, if I'm so special, if I'm so, you know, big of a deal, and I'm so lovable and all of that, you know, this thing couldn't have happened. You know, why is it hard also is because ego does not want to accept that these things could happen to me. You know, and there's no judgment though when I say this. Like, I'm not judging anyone, because I was literally this way. Like, but it's just that it's you know, it just happens. It just happens to all of us, and it's just a learning experience. Like, it's a thing that happens, and it means that your ego is breaking. You know, this means that you had a little bit of ego maybe somewhere, and I had that ego as well, and it just broke down. And it was painful to realize that, because it felt like I was dying, you know, because your ego, well, identifies. So it's like you're identified with a particular way of being, you know, maybe that you were better, that I was better than you know, all these other, let's say, women, and I wasn't, you know, wasn't at all. And so feeling is just facing your unprocessed emotions. Another way of seeing this as well for me is like, if you have this like plastic transparent bag, and it's full of water, and it's like these unprocessed emotions is like this transparent plastic bag full of water, and they're like, or bubbles of water, you know, and they're just like everywhere, and they're coming to you. And like, when you unprocess them, when you're not processing them, they just kind of come at you and come at you and I come at you. And when you process them, you just kind of take that whole bag with water, you drink that water up, you steam it out, and next time, those things come back. Do we ever really forget the things that happened to us? No. Like, I had traumatizing events in my past, and of course the most recent one still, it feels the most fresh, but the previous ones, it's like I never forget them, but it's just that they don't do nothing to me. It's like you learn to live with them, they're there, the memories come back, but they just don't mean anything. And so that's, like that plastic bag full of water that does not have water anymore. It comes back to you, you remember it, but there's no emotion associated to it because you already processed it, you let it go. If there is so much emotion still, you can just feel it. It comes to you, you just feel it. It comes to you, you just feel it. And when you feel it, you heal it in that sense, because when you feel it, that emotion just leaves you. But now, as I said, you need to be in a particular state of mind. You have to reach a particular level. You have to be in a state where you have reached a particular level where you are aware of what is going on. Because first you gotta become aware. You can't process things if you're not aware of what happened. You might just feel that negative emotion, right? But it's not gonna leave you, because you need to walk away. You need to detach yourself from a situation. Then you will be able to process those emotions, and sometimes needs to pass sometimes as well.